We are live at the 108th Grey Cup in Hamilton. Bonfire Sports, Darrin Bauming, Chris Walby, Nick Kowalski hanging out in the background. He's been doing great work all week here from Hamilton. Chris, have you been on our Instagram? He's killing it.
Yeah, you know what? I don't, you're right. We had this conversation a while back. I don't spend a lot of time on that. I'm pretty much a Facebook and a Twitter guy, and that's about it for me. I'm not technically that advanced, but one day I'll get on there. I saw somebody had a Bonfire shirt, though.
Yep.
Then I noticed I didn't get a Bonfire shirt. I got a Bonfire hat and a toque.
Yes.
What, they don't come in men's size or what?
They're out in the wild. They do exist. I'm working on getting a more diverse offering for people. So stay tuned through December into January. You want one of these nice hats, maybe a toque.
Hats are nice, man. I wear my hat all the time.
Maybe a toque. There's a picture of, I don't know if it's still up there, but there was a shot. If you follow us on Instagram, me and Walby chilling in the pickup truck with our Bonfire toques on.
The toques are good. My wife took it, though. She grabbed it. It's gone.
Oh,
don't
really?
Have it anymore.
Oh,
she saw it. Okay. She loved it. She wants to wear it.
Okay, we'll call it a Christmas present. I'll get you another one.
No, that's good. She loves it, man. So that's good. When she's happy, I'm happy. You know what I say? Happy wife, happy life.
No question. She's my favorite Walby. Chris,
not like you have a whole lot of choices.
No, I guess not.
You know what I mean?
Let's get into the topic at hand, and that's, of course, a back-to-back between the Bombers and the Ticats. I've asked players this week, like, does 2019 feel like yesterday, or does it seem like forever ago? And, I remember Jake Thomas telling me during Media Day, it kind of feels like both. This will be the third time the Bombers and the Ticats, or at least the cities of Hamilton and Winnipeg, will meet in back-to-back Grey Cups. 58 and 59, Bombers won both of those matchups. 1961 in the Fog Bowl with Kenny Payne in 1962. Of course, the Bombers won both of those as well. 2019, the Bombers' 33-12 dominant victory over the Ticats now sets up this 108th Grey Cup, Chris. Can the Ticats take advantage of home field and roll with that crazy Oskee Wee Wee fan base here in the Hammer to an upset victory over a powerhouse, fully healthy Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
You'll take a line from the Saskatchewan Roughriders when they started that thing called the 13th man, and that was the home crowd, right? And that has to have some advantage to the Ticats as far as playing in front. That's what you dream of if your team gets awarded the cup and you're playing in your home stadium. You always want to say, boy, it's nice first to make the playoffs, to win the finals, to get to the Grey Cup, to play in front of your home team. I think it's a big bonus. I think it's one of the X factors that I'm looking at as far as what could turn the tide for the Ticats. But there's a number of things we'll get into. But as far as home field advantage, you got to love it. I mean, the Bombers, look at them, 7-0, basically 8-0 with the West Final, yet 4-3 on the road. And at home, their defense only 8 points against at home, 19 or 20 on the road. So there's always a difference, when you're staying in a hotel. But, the Grey Cup week is totally different, as you well know, being there all week in Hamilton. It's a fun thing, but for the players, it's tiring. The interviews, the sit-downs, you're always going to breakfast. You've got Media Day.
Photo shoots like crazy.
Wars, which they moved from Thursday to Friday last night. And again, congratulations to all the Bombers.
Sweet.
Stanley Bryan, Adam Big Hill, and Coach O'Shea, and who am I missing?
Zach Collaros, the league's most outstanding player.
And every one of them well-deserving.
No question.
Just unbelievable. And then I'm happiest for, I think, a guy, not to take anything away from the players. I love the fact that Coach O'Shea is getting the recognition he deserves. And I know he's waxing poetic about, the organization, and that's true. I mean, you talk about Kyle Walters. You talk about how he brought everybody back. You talk about Wade Miller, who, insists on paying these guys, and he's not trying to, close the purse strings to, eliminate guys from coming back. So, yeah, I'm really happy about him. So, I mean, this game, to me, is the best game. And it sounds kind of cliche-ish, but it's all over. It's it. The guys have walked through today. They play tomorrow. Well, this will be shown tomorrow, so obviously we're taping a day ahead of time.
Yeah. But we're mere hours away from kickoff right now.
Oh, there you go. Well, the thing is, they want to. look, you want to get this over with. You want to get on the field.
Yeah.
You know what? It's such a distraction, and people don't understand that when you're on the traveling team too, right? You're bringing your kids out, your parents, you're bringing out your wives, your girlfriends, your ex-girlfriends, whatever. You're trying to make up with them. You know what I mean? That's a whole nice,
good place to do it.
Yeah, it's a good place to do it, right? So, and I liked what Orlando Steinhauer, I know I'm going all over the place, but Orlando Steinhauer said something I thought in the coaches conference when he said, I want my players to enjoy it. It's so hard. I mean, Lloyd Fairbanks never went to a cup, played 16 years. It's crazy when you think about that. In a small, 9-team league, not to make the Grey Cup.
Well, it's rare to be in a championship game, let alone win one. But
so I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? So I mean, I liked Orlando. He said, I want my guys to go out, and I think they're old enough to understand. You go out Wednesday, you go out Thursday. Now Friday, Saturday, you shut her down. But you should go out and enjoy some of the festivities. You should get out there and meet the people. It's your fans.
Well,
we're a fan-driven league, right?
Right, so, and those Hamilton players, like we were talking about, how rare it is to play in a championship game, how rare it is to win a championship.
Yeah.
It's even more rare, Chris, to play in a championship in your home building with your fans and your bed at night and all of those regular creature comforts that come from it being in your own facility, familiarity with everything, where everything is, how to get what you need to get ready to go. I think that shouldn't be overlooked. Now, do I think the Hamilton Tiger Cats will win the 108th Grey Cup? That's not my prediction at all. I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are just too good. Hamilton, I like the way Milt Stegall put it. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to have to play a perfect game. But if there was ever a scenario where the stage is set for the Ticats to play a perfect game, this is it. It's a rematch. It's the same two quarterbacks. It's familiarity. It's bad taste in their mouth from 2019 where they were the powerhouse of 13-win team and going into Calgary and absolutely getting the boots handed to them, 33-12, right? Like Jefferson and Jeff Coate and Teodric Hansen and Steven Richardson, those guys on the D-line beat them up at the line of scrimmage, and it was why Dane Evans couldn't get too much going. And then on offense, the play calling, the design of Paul LaPolice in that game plan, Chris, was masterful, in my opinion. Andrew Harris had the Red Sea parted for him on some of those runs, and Chris Streveler, catching a touchdown and throwing for a touchdown, and Andrew Harris doing it on the ground and in the air off the arm of Chris Streveler. What a secret weapon he was. The Hamilton Tiger Cats talked this week, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. They know the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will have all guns cocked and ready to blaze, and they're prepared. They're ready. I'm expecting a serious effort and tilt from the hometown Ticats.
The interesting thing, and first I want to go back to one of your earlier comments. You'll find that these guys, even at your home stadium, the Ticats will be in a hotel. Mm-hmm. Because what will happen is they'll have meetings all day. You'll have a lot more meetings because they want to make sure they don't leave any stone unturned, especially when you're going. Having said that, I look back at the Grey Cup. Zach Collaros did not throw a touchdown. The touchdown that we got through the air was Streveler to Harris.
Right.
I mean, Andrew Harris had 149 something yards rushing
combined, or
he had for game one this year. He didn't play. I believe it was Brady Oliveira had the big game running the ball. That is the key. On the other side, conversely, the Ticat defense is number one against the run. So that is a really interesting thing, averaging 79. They've really tightened up. But, man,
that's the big thing.
You know where I'm going with this, man. 97 is not playing for the Ticats, and I'm blown away. It seems like every time the Bombers play, something happens, whether it's Vernon Adams in Montreal. You know what I mean? A key guy's hurt. Ted Laurent is a key on that defensive line, that tackle position.
He is a star player. Yeah.
Appendicitis has a procedure done. He will not be in that game. They're playing a guy named Les Autre, 6'2", 305 out of University of Mississippi. Played the first game, did not play after that. So this is a guy who's thrust into the limelight. Maybe he has the biggest game of his life. You don't know.
He might need to. He might need to have the best game of his life.
He has to. He has to step in and feel some big shoes.
Yeah.
Listen, you look at that defense, and I look at the Ticats. Obviously, Santos Knox, 70 tackles. You got Simoni Lawrence. Listen, Simoni Lawrence lost a tight battle at Big Hill. And if you look at Simoni Lawrence's stats, and it tells you how it's a team award sometimes, because the Bombers obviously, basically dominate every defensive category. But, Simoni Lawrence had, 4 sacks. He's got 3 interceptions, 73 tackles. That is a MVP or MOP type season for him.
Yeah.
So there's no shame coming runner-up, even though I know it's the third time I think he's, been the bridesmaid. I'm sure he's – and you take that anger into the game.
Exactly.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. I know what it's like when I lost 92 and 93 to or 91 and 92 to Mills, Jimmy Mills out of BC. Bridesmaid 2 years in a row. It does not leave a good taste in your mouth. So,
yeah.
You appreciate that, there's guys that they voted against you or voted for somebody else. But you also want to take that fire in the game. Play smart. And that's why I think the defense, when I'm looking at this defense, you're talking about Jagarrett Davis, 5 straight Grey Cups, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
4 sacks in his last 2 playoff games. He's got 6 on the season. He's really coming on. And I think Stanley Bryant gave him a great compliment, said he's quick as a cat.
Yeah.
I mean, he can get to the ball. He makes plays.
Well, and Jagarrett Davis is like, he's not Willie Jefferson. He's not that long, I don't want to say he is a pro athlete, but Willie Jefferson said it. They're very close friends. He's like, my boy's got a belly, but he can move. Jagarrett Davis is dropping into coverage. He's making plays.
Did you see that play? Yeah. The last
Unbelievable.
game.
This is a defensive end, a guy who hangs his hat. Yeah, he's hanging his hat on sacks and tackles for loss and beating guys up at the point of attack, right at the line of scrimmage. He's running 20 yards downfield, and then making the play on a deep pass. It's been impressive to watch Jagarrett Davis. I've heard it from a variety of people here at Grey Cup week, even last week, Chris. Jagarrett Davis might be the MVP of the 2021 postseason. He has been that good, and you're right.
You hit on something, DB. I'm sorry, but you were all over exactly where I was going, and that is sometimes we put too much emphasis on a sack, and we don't understand the other importance of, the pressures, the disruption, the forced fumbles,
just the contain on the edge, right?
You look at these things, his coverage of the running back in the end zone to not allow that pass to Toronto's running back Foster. Unbelievable.
Well, that's what offensive coordinators do. They try to find that exact mismatch, that exact wrinkle to throw at an opposing defense. And what happens? Yeah. Well, there's a reason Jagarrett Davis is a superstar in the Canadian Football League. Yeah, you can scheme against the Ticats. He makes a play, and the Ticats end up winning that game. What a comeback it was in the East Final for the Ticats. I think that kind of leads into a huge storyline for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that is, once again, after starting the majority of the games, Jeremiah Mazzoli will not start in the Grey Cup for the Ticats. Dane Evans stepped in with the Ticats struggling to move the ball consistently in the first half against the Toronto Argonauts in the East Final. He went 16 of 16. He looked like a reborn quarterback. He looked excellent in that game. And well, you talk about having a bad taste in your mouth. You talk about having a little extra motivation or fire burning in your belly. Yeah, Simoni, Jagarrett Davis, a whole pile of Ticats, no doubt have that. But I think one that maybe more than anybody is Dane Evans. He is in a situation in Hamilton where, David Watford started 2 games for the Ticats this year. There's 3 good quarterbacks, but 2 that are really fighting to be legit starters and consistent players and get that nice payday as quarterbacks deserve in this league. And for Dane Evans, his opportunity is in the 108th Grey Cup to elevate himself, get himself in that conversation of the best quarterbacks in the CFL.
Well, and it's interesting because last time they played in 2019, Mazzoli did not play. It was Dane, and I think it was Watford as the backup.
Yeah.
Where now you have Jeremiah. So if Dane, I don't think he's going to – I think he's much smarter. I think he's much more comfortable in that offense. I think that, he's got a good rapport with the offense coordinator, Tommy Condell. My big thing is, I always look over matchups, right? And I looked at last Grey Cup because, that's a big game. That's what I look at. And the Bombers – basically 6 quarterback sacks, 5. And I know Andrew Harris was the outstanding player. in my mind, it could have very well been Willie Jefferson.
Yeah.
3 sacks, a forced fumble. Jackson Jeffcoat is bookend, 2 sacks. I looked at the stats this year. The Bombers have 39 quarterback sacks. 36 of those sacks are from the D-line. That's how dominant this D-line is. Now, let's look at who they got to go against. Now they got a new guy. Obviously, you've got Jordan Murray, 6'9". Like, he didn't play against this is going to be the first time he faces these guys.
He is a big man. You know, Nick and I watching him on the field, you're like,
oh, big time.
Whoa.
Oh, he's a mountain.
Yeah.
He's a mountain. And then you got Chris Van Zyl, who won the outstanding lineman last year over Stanley Bryant and really had a rough game. You know, the redemption factor for him is I have to play better. I have to have the game of my life against those 2 defensive ends to make things happen. So
I believe Chris Van Zyl is from Southern Ontario, so he's going to have lots of family. This is an important game for him
right? I mean,
in that sense too.
And then you got to look at everything. And I love throwing all these little intangibles out because when I look at their roster last year and what they have going this year, Tim White did not play.
Mm-hmm.
Dunbar Jr., Stephen Dunbar Jr. did not play. Pappy White, I told you, the Moonshine Kid, he did not play. Dane Evans didn't play. Don Jackson, a new running back, is only in his 5th game.
Yeah, their run game is a lot stronger.
A lot better. A lot better. And listen, they had Tyrell Sutton last year time in the Grey Cup, and he was not a bad running back.
Where's he now, though?
They've got a better scheme.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the way this offense looks different. They've got, they don't have Frankie Williams, but they have, I think, Pappy and Brandon Banks. And I expect to see Brandon a little bit more. Like, he's healthy this year. He went into that cup with some rib injuries in 2019. Well, still had some catches, but he was not the Brandon Banks.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. He's sorry to cut you off. He's well into his 30s. What's his nickname? Speedy B. What's the first thing to go when you get into your 30s? It's hair. Your speed. Well, maybe hair. Yeah, maybe. I'm still there. No, but
mine went at 30.
When it comes to Brandon Banks, that's what I see. I don't, maybe he just doesn't have that same twitch, that same burst, that same acceleration, that same top end that he has had. And, reason why, he was, in the MOP conversation for years and winning it in 2019. But don't sleep on Braylon Addison. Don't sleep on, Nick, who am I forgetting? Jalen.
Well, I don't think, no, you're thinking about Jalen Acklin.
He's got his AirPods in.
Jalen
Acklin, thank you, yeah. Don't sleep on those guys. Don't sleep on them. They have got a lot of weaponry for Dane Evans to use. And yes, DeAndre Alford and Dietrich Nichols, all-star or all-star caliber seasons for the Blue Bombers. Nick Taylor, Winston Rose, I think he's probably got his feet wet enough back in the CFL waters, working through some things at those first couple games back after time with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Brandon Alexander, far and away the best safety in the game today. Yeah. No argument from anybody there.
Did he get fined? Sorry to cut you off now. Did he get fined for that hit? Because I'll tell you what, I thought he was going to get thrown out of the game.
The forearm shiver, right? Like, are you here or are you here?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, right? I've seen worse or less contact where guys they're gone, right? Or they get a fine.
Nope.
I'm surprised, but listen, that would have been a huge loss in that game against Saskatchewan. It would have been even a bigger loss if he was, going against Brandon Alexander. And then I guess, should we touch on this now? I guess so.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, this is a tough situation where guys can't travel. Unvaxxed player, that's a Tui.
I broke that story on Tuesday.
I know you did. You're on top of it, brother.
I was in Mississauga, but there he was on the suspended list. And, we knew this was coming. The Blue Bombers had been clear for weeks. They were 99% vaccinated when it came to their players. There are rules in place in the Canadian Football League and their member teams. There's also rules in place, provincial and federal health guidelines. 2 things came into play here. Tui Ellie could have driven to Hamilton to play in the game, but you cannot travel to the game separate from your team unless it's an extenuating circumstance. So ineligible to play on the suspended list. Chris Kolinkowski will dress along with Jeff Gray as the 6th and 7th, Gray being the 6th, of course, on that offensive line. The Blue Bombers moved to a true jumbo package late in the year. They used it a lot in the West Final, Chris, and that was putting Jeff Gray and Tuieli both at a double tight end set, and they really, that's a reason why their wedge package has still been effective, despite there being a lot of tape on it throughout the year. That's why Sean McGuire or Andrew Harris or whomever is carrying the ball in those short yardage situations have been effective. I expect Chris Kolinkowski to dress. I think Josh Miller, the rookie defensive back, will be the reserve to scratch in the 108th Grey Cup. We'll know that 60 minutes prior to kickoff. But either way, however it shakes out, the Bombers are healthy. They are tip-top shape. Yeah, it stinks for Tui, and you know,
I feel bad for the kid, but you know, that's
his decision. It was his decision.
Rules. But you know, this is a guy that when he was playing at NCAA was rated one of the top centers in the NCAA.
Right.
And he's a great run blocker, very physical. Nothing against the kid that'll take his place in Kolinkowski or Jeff Gray, but I think they lose something when they lose a guy of the strength and the aggressiveness of a very confident Asatui. So, you know,
look, man, I think it's important to put this out there. We don't know why he chose to not be vaccinated or inclined to not be vaccinated. No, it's not our issue. This is what I know about Tuieli. Okay, he loves football. He loves his teammates. He wished he could be there in the 108th Grey Cup. But the reality is, I know he is a high character individual. Him and his father, both tribal chiefs in their in their communities in Hawaii. He was born in Richmond, British Columbia, but you know, he is Polynesian, and you know, it could have been a variety of things that came into play. But this is not a guy who's just like, no, that's not good enough for me. People are entitled to their decision about vaccination or not. I encourage people to get vaccinated and help protect the people around us in our community. But sometimes it's not possible. And we don't know for sure why Tui didn't. But the Bombers will be in good hands regardless. They are healthy top to bottom.
Listen, you're right. But I think it was important we brought it up. And I think you did a fantastic job, as always, Mr. Darrin, of explaining, because I've been asked that a number of times, why couldn't he drive it? And I didn't know. So because everybody says, well, why does he just hop in a car? I did not know that he could not travel without his teammates. So that's a very, I'm glad we got that point out, because that clarifies a lot for me and for people out there wondering. So
no, there are people saying, like, if the Argos were in the Grey Cup, or now it's the Ticats, they have members of their team that are unvaccinated.
Yes.
And they can play. Yes. Well, that's the world we live in right now with health guidelines. And, you know, transmission is number one when it comes to COVID-19. It's the number one concern.
It is, for sure.
So, look, here,
let me cry.
Let's keep perspective, right? And I'm not speaking to you, Chris. I'm speaking to everybody out there. Keep perspective in mind here. 12 months ago, we were like, oh, man, it's December.
No football.
We didn't have a Grey Cup. We didn't have a championship. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers weren't able to capitalize on the celebration and the honor of being Grey Cup champions for the first time in nearly 3 decades. We didn't have football to play. We couldn't even play games. Here we are. It's December. It was 17 Celsius in Hamilton on Saturday, Chris. The wind was blowing. There's a crazy system coming in. It was pouring rain on Friday night. It's been wild, but the weather will be good. Everyone is healthy. We have 2 excellent football clubs. 30+ thousand will be in attendance at Tim Hortons Field. That's home nice. Team playing in this game. It'll be broadcast on ESPN2 in the United States, TSN here in Canada. Bob Irving is in the house. It's going to be across the globe. We're playing a championship game here in Canada. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I've said it a million times. We're playing football. Thank whoever you need to thank and pray to whoever you need to pray to. It's a great thing. We're going to be playing the 108th.
It's interesting, though, too, because you hit on it again, the home. And going back and doing some research like I do, being the scholar that I am.
Oh, yes.
The home teams who have hosted the last 3 have won the last 3 Grey Cups, which I found very interesting.
Most recently, Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing is when you go down and look at all the stuff and you look at everything and you break it all down, you know, when I look at the last game, when I went back and watched the last Grey Cup game, the first game of the season is still everybody's trying to figure everything out. I don't put a lot of stock in that. They only played Hamilton once, but I went back to the Grey Cup, and I was amazed to see that they turned the ball over 3 times in their first 4 offensive drives. And that's Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Now Hamilton's looking at they're looking at saying, this turnovers is the key anyway, right? I think Ajay, the guy he's working for, he had a great stat that I listened to him today. He was talking about, he said that 22 or 23 of the last 24 teams to win the Grey Cup, which is an outstanding 99 point whatever percent, win the turnover battle. Mm-hmm. Bombers had 6 turnovers last week against Saskatchewan, and I thought Saskatchewan did a outstanding job of ripping the ball. I can think of Drew Wilatarski. Obviously the fluky one off of Dembski, that's not the one, but the one they ripped the ball out. They caused a couple of fumbles. They caused, Zach. When's the last time you've seen Zach throw 3 interceptions in a game? That's in his head. I know he's not thinking about it, but hey, Hamilton's looking at the film. What did they do? Right? I mean, what do we have to do? Everybody takes something from somebody. So they're going to look at whether Mark Washington looks at what Toronto did against us, whether they look at what Saskatchewan did successfully against us. Everybody wants to see how do they beat the Bombers. And right now, the key for Hamilton is obviously stopping the run game. It really is. But then, because look who you got now. You got Kenny Lawler, who's got, 10 over 30 catches, 10 30-yard plus catches. You got Darwin Adams, who he's going to break out every time. And you got, Rashid Bailey, who's strong. I watched him on a run play, knock duck, but Jesus out of a defensive end coming across against Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. These guys are blockers. Not only do they catch the ball extremely well,
Dembski
they've got
too,
so
right?
many weapons. They got so many weapons, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, Chris, a couple things I want to touch on there. And
let's touch on them.
Yeah, let's touch on them. So first is, you mentioned the run game. And Simoni Lawrence, I asked him, do you want to play against Andrew Harris? Do you expect him to play in this game? Harris told me after the West Final, he's like, I'm confident I'll play in the Grey Cup. Oh, okay. So, we don't have to talk about that this week. That was a nice thing. But Simoni Lawrence, who absolutely would have been a deserving winner of most outstanding defensive player. Adam Bigel gets his third. We talked about that. But Simoni said, we want their best. He wants Andrew to play. And look, between me and you and everybody watching out there, I have a feeling that Simoni Lawrence and Andrew Harris don't like each other very much. They always seem to elevate their individual game when going head to head. And, redemption, revenge, bad taste in your mouth, whatever you want to call it. Andrew is going to try to do the same thing he did in Calgary in 2019. Simoni's going to try to write a completely different script and show everybody he should have been the most outstanding defensive player this year. That leads into something I do want to touch on. Encourage everybody to check out all of the great videos down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, give the thumbs up, all that stuff. Chris, read the comments, reply to these people. They want to hear from you. But down there, you'll see my exchanges one-on-one. It was in a group setting, but I kind of had a back and forth with Adam Bighill, with Stanley Bryant, with Mike O'Shea, with Zach Collaros. And it brings me back to the coach's introductory presser here in Hamilton early in Grey Cup week. And you have 2 guys sitting up there in Orlando Steinauer and Mike O'Shea, who are old teammates. Old friends, old coaching mates, and now facing each other a consecutive time in the Grey Cup. And you can sense the mutual respect, the adoration, the appreciation, the friendship between those two as coaches. And, it was interesting listening to some of the questions asked of them, what do you respect most about Mike? What do you like most about how Orlando coaches? And in the end, my takeaway was, and other people's too, there's a reason Hamilton and Winnipeg are in the Grey Cup again. And it's not Andrew Harris, or it's not Don Jackson, it's not Simoni Lawrence, it's not Brandon Alexander. It's the culture that Mike O'Shea has built in Winnipeg. It's the culture that Orlando Steinauer has built in Hamilton. They're similar. Right. They let the players play. They let the players organize and manage themselves in the locker room. They let the coordinators do their job. And then as head coach, Orlando or Mike, they kind of just let everything happen, ensure everything's lined up and away they go. They play for their teammate. They don't play for the logo. They don't play for their coach to impress them. I like the way Orlando Steinauer put it this week, Chris. A lot of people don't like their boss. But that doesn't stop you from going to your job and doing a good job and trying to get a promotion and trying to get a raise. You go bust your tail and you're going to get rewarded for it. And oftentimes that motivation comes from the guy in the desk next to you, whether he's working on a project with you or she's working on a project with you, or you're competing with them for that next promotion. You don't have to like your boss as long as you have a good mentality and culture in the building. You're going to get the best out of the players. You're going to get the best out of your team. And I think that's what's happened in Hamilton and in Winnipeg.
Well, they're very similar in the way they handle themselves, just to what you said. The other thing that I like is, I remember a coach, and I don't know who it was, who said, he quoted one time, and I remember I was doing a Grey Cup for CBC, and I can't remember one of the coaches, might have been Ronnie Lancaster, who said, a smart head coach hires people better than himself.
Yeah.
If you think you're the guy and you want it to be all about you, you're not going to win many games.
Right.
And you can't control your staff through fear.
Right.
You have to let them coach and be who they are and bring out the best in their players. And that's what I think both these guys, Steinhauer and O'Shea, have done remarkably well. You're right. I mean, back-to-back, they're meeting, 2019, 2021. You know that Orlando Steinhauer would love to win this game in front of his home crowd. There's rumors he might be taking the University of Washington defensive coordinator job. Whether that comes to fruition, I mean, no one's talking about, which is great because you don't want to take away from the game. But we can talk about it a little bit. I just mentioned it. Let that go.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
We'll
I just want to see it. The guy that we should talk, the guy that's going to make, I talked about turnovers already. So turnovers is huge. The other thing I think is going to be a major, major factor in this game is special teams. And I think that Jeff Reinbold, what he did against Toronto on the fake 3rd and 1 where Dane Evans kept the ball, when I watched that great run back of 92 yards on a punt return by Pappy White, you know what? If you can get your special teams rolling, they got a rookie kicker. Was it what's this guy's name? Domagala, Michael Domagala Carlton. We got a guy named Sergio. I think we win that battle. I think Sergio's that confident, right? I mean, he kicked a 50-yarder already, right? He's 7 for 9.
Sergio Castillo's never kicked in a playoff game.
Yeah, it was last week was his first. Never kicked. That's right.
Last week was his first. Yeah.
The only thing he did was extra point. So that's a good point there too, Darren. Again, smack. Okay. But no, I like it. Listen, the worst thing that can happen for the CFL is to have a blowout. It's not good. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I know a lot of teams. I mean, I don't know what the odds are. I think it's like
look, the 107th Grey Cup wasn't an absolute blowout, but it was a dominant Blue Bombers win.
It was
and you know what?
It was close to the end of the third quarter. Then it got
right. But that was a good football game because of the story it told. Right? Andrew Harris, doesn't win CFL MOP, shows up with a huge chip on his shoulder, goes off, is an absolute monster in that game, deserving of most outstanding Canadian, most outstanding player in the Grey Cup. Huge upset. The Ticats, nobody expecting them to get beaten that handily by the Blue Bombers, who had to they finished 3rd in the West. They had to go on the road, skin of their teeth to beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the 2019 West Final. And, if it wasn't for an upright, it might have been painted differently. So, that's
what it is.
I think this game, you can look at score predictions and what you expect and all that. I think it's going to be a great game because Hamilton's playing at home. Nobody is going to quit. And I loved some of the questions that Paul Friesen of the Winnipeg Sun, actually shout out to Paul and Ted, Taylor Allen, Jeff Hamilton, Ted Wyman, that is, of the Sun, and Jeff and Taylor from the Free Press, doing great work here all week. Ed Tate from BlueBombers.com with Riley Mara and their team. Bob Irving is here. Great to see him at another Grey Cup and being honored as he should be as he heads into retirement. But Paul Friesen asked a whole bunch of Blue Bomber players, do you expect this to be a slugfest or a track meet? And it's interesting. Some of those guys that play on the outside, DBs, receivers, it's going to be a track meet. And then you ask the guys up front, like Michael Couture, slugfest. Teodric Hansen, slugfest. He didn't know.
Come on. we're talking about offense. You're talking about the pits.
No,
it's always a slug.
But I appreciated that color coming from the players because you know these two teams are going to strategize and game plan like crazy. But then when it comes down to it, how did the Blue Bombers lose to the Argos early in the season? They got punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
The Argos beat them up, and it was a wake-up call. I think it served the Bombers well. But Chris, that's how you beat Winnipeg. Milt Stiegel says the Ticats are going to have to play a perfect game. Part of that perfect game, I would even argue half of that perfect game, is being the more physical team, is winning the line of scrimmage, is, smacking them around and making them think for a second before they try to go up for a ball or gain an edge or a block. That's going to be a huge factor.
Play physical, but play smart.
Right.
The worst thing that can happen in big games is where you take stupid penalties and cost your team a big play on offense or give the offense a big play against you. The Bombers, again, are number one for the least amount of penalties taken. They're very well coached. Hamilton's not bad either this time. But I watched the game against Toronto, and they took some penalties, took a couple PIs, and you can't have that. They're going to have to play pretty much a near-perfect game against these guys, and it's going to come down to pressure. First off, you got to stop Andrew Harris. That's the number one goal. That's what their goal is. Mm-hmm. Two, if you're going to bring these linebackers, Santos Knox, Simoni Lawrence, all these guys on blitzes, there's going to be an opening behind. And Zach can read this. One of the things he's done so well is he reads pre-snap where to go with that football. Hamilton's going to have to do a great job at disguising what they're doing. Don't line up in it. Jump back and forth. Make them think. Hold the ball a little bit. That's the only chance you got.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll cut you off because I think that's a huge.
Sure you do. You'll cut me off.
Well, yeah, I'm good at it, right? But
just like when you drive.
Well, don't get me started. When I got to drive out to you in the other end of town, absolutely. So if I can get there in a decent amount of time.
Ghetto, buddy.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah, you're out in the sticks, right? No, Chris. Here's the thing. In championship games, it's all on the line. You open up the entire playbook, you let it all hang out, and let the best team win. For the Hamilton Tiger Cats, we talked about it. Ted Laurent going down and won't start in this game. What we didn't talk about is that he's Canadian, and it's going to affect the ratio. Now, the depth chart is out. You can look at that all you want. Yep. You take the depth chart with a grain of salt in the Canadian Football League. You take any depth chart, any roster, even a guy lining up on one play, you can't trust he'll be there on the next. It's going to be I think it'll be a significant strategic advantage for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It's tough losing Ted Laurent. They're going to have to adjust their ratio. Tunde Ndeleke, Sean Thomas Erlington, of course, Ndeleke being a DB and Erlington a running back. The ways that they might do some different things, the Blue Bombers aren't exactly sure how that will roll out. But, you'll ask them and they'll say, well, hey, we're just focused on ourselves. And I think that's all they can do. But that could play a factor in this game. Chris, I know you're tight for time today because, hey, you're Chris Walby. You got 3 Grey Cup rings. You got number 60. I see number 60 behind you there. I have no doubt you're going to be a busy man all through this weekend. And, of course, here on game day, but I have to ask you before we get your keys to the game. You've been here before. You've been in 5 Grey Cups. You've won 3. So you know what it's like to hoist it at the end, and you know what it's like to go to that locker room empty-handed following a no doubt tough slog through a professional football season. When you wake up on Grey Cup morning, what goes through your mind?
Happiness. Finally getting to play. Like I mentioned earlier to you, DB, after a while, you just get tired of, going to the interviews, going to the team dinners, going to this thing. Sometimes you just want to go back in your room, and then you say, actually, day 2, it's kind of fun. Day 3, it's okay. Novelty's starting to wear off. Now you get close to the game. It's like, let's play this game. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I can't remember. We were playing in Edmonton. I don't think it was our first game, or maybe it was BC. It was BC, I think, and whatever. We were playing a game. We were getting introduced, and they put us out. We were playing Edmonton in the Grey Cup, so it might have been 90. It was 90, 1990. And they introduced us first, and people are booing us as we walk on the stage. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I find out then the Edmonton says, I'm not putting my players out there. The head coach says, no, we're not putting our guys out. The reason these people were mad was because they put us in this old folks' home and we were interrupting their bingo game. So they could give two rats behind. Ooh, these big fat guys coming on stage getting introduced. They're like, no, get me under the O. I need O63.
Wow.
So, I mean,
just
so
when I think I've heard every Grey Cup story, there's another one. Like, I've never heard anything like that before.
That's a true one. And I tell you what, but you know what, Darren, to answer your question, even, yeah, it's fun to get there. I think you covered it just tremendously when you said there's nothing to, you're basically totally naked. Everything's there. There's no sense holding back. There's no sense leaving a play in a playbook. There's no sense doing any of this. Are we going to see some fake punts where you throw across the field? Are you going to see some trickery? Absolutely. Whatever it takes to give your team the edge. And I know you asked me for my keys. I only have one key, baby. Win the turnover battle. That's it. I think whoever wins that turnover battle will win the football game. And I think the Bombers have to control that football and protect the football. And I think the team that does it best will win this football game.
Well, I got to send out a couple shout outs and big thanks to Jordy and Jill Wilson at San Vito Coffee House for their continued support. Of course, Jordy, head coach of the Winnipeg Rifles, a junior football team, very close to my heart. Love working with those people. Jordy is a phenomenal person and head coach. Jill is like my favorite person in the world. 2293 Portage Avenue in sunny St. James. Great food. They cater, and their coffee is like off the charts. It's just awesome. You want a cappuccino or something fancy, they can definitely make that up for you, right? And I love their beans. I take them home, grind them myself, and it's worthwhile. But great food there. You might even see, like, Buck Pierce strolling through there, Bob Irving. It's a spot. So check them out. And of course, big thanks to Body Logics, the nutrition and supplement company. Big shout out to DJ Lalama, former Blue Bomber, Montreal Alouette, Edmonton Elk, and Manitoba Bison, who is working with the Body Logics team. Everybody there, big thanks for partnering with us at Grey Cup this week on Bonfire Sports, and we're looking forward to more of that as well. But more than anything, Chris, thank you to you. You are a legend, a gentleman, a close friend of mine for the work we've done through the years, and your insight and your personality, your energy that you bring and have brought to Game Day Winnipeg here on season 1 on Bonfire Sports. I'm never going to forget it, man. I know everybody out there appreciates it as well.
DB, we've been doing this for a long time, whether it be at TSN. Now we're doing this podcast, which is a new wave of the future. I enjoy it. As you said, we're buddies, we're amigos. We get to talk football, something we both are passionate about. It's fun. And I know that there's times you'll phone me and go, "Hey, Walls, can you hang around till 5?" And I'm like, "No, man, I got to go." But then, I back down. I go, "Okay, I'll be there."
You're good.
And I love the fact that, you mentioned DJ Lama. Get me some of that Body Logic stuff, buddy. Come on, buddy.
I'll set you up.
This body, man.
Yeah, I'll get you some branch chain amino acids and some protein, some creatine. I know you like that stuff. But Body Logics, they've got a fantastic lineup of fully certified, top-end, clinically tested, and created supplements. Willie Jefferson, Jackson Jeffcoat, Brandon Alexander, Mike Bedson, Jake Thomas, a whole bunch of Toronto Argonauts players, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League. Like, these guys know what they're doing, and it shows in the pro athletes that put their trust in Body Logics. And we're proud to be powered by Body Logics here on Bonfire Sports. Chris, you got a score prediction for the 108th Grey Cup?
I don't have a score, DB. I'd love to give you one. I think I was talking to Mike Richards out of Ontario earlier, another great guy, and I think I said 23-19 for the Bombers. I just feel the Bombers have. I go down that roster. I'm looking for how they can fall apart. And then I thought last week, the turnovers, that's why I really believe the turnovers is a huge thing. I just think the Bombers win in back-to-back championships. But having said that, I'm so happy that it's a rematch. I love both these coaches. I mean, Orlando Steinhauer, I know Michael Shea. I played against both these idiots, and I love these guys, man. They're not idiots, you know what I mean? But they're good guys. So
that's football lingo for your teammate, and the guy you got to go up against.
I'll say this to you, DB. Enjoy the game, and safe travels back, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm going to be at my buddy's place. We'll be watching on a big screen. I'll toast you guys tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a real fun game. And thanks to everybody out there who supported Bonfire Sports all throughout the season. We wouldn't be here without you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Chris, enjoy the game. Everybody out there, enjoy the game. thinking the Bombers are going to win this one. I think Mike O'Shea is going to solidify himself in Winnipeg sports history as one of the greats.
Yep. Congratulations. Go Big Blue. You see it right here, buddy. That's the win.